Yes, absolutely.
And this is an event for this City of Austin District, City Council District 9. And this is an event for fundraiser for candidate Ben Leffler. And we've got lots of people here today. That's Ben over there, and he'll talk to you a little bit. When he does, we will get him and get it up tonight so we can see it.
But I did work for another one.
Coming, I'm Andy Moore, one of the hosts, along with Mike Martinez, Chris Riley, Leah Bojo, Ashley Fisher. I'm missing everybody else.
Kathy Cokelet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Kathy Cokelet, thank you for everybody for coming. It was a great opportunity for us to learn about what Ben is planning for us, all the issues he's going to address. No pressure at all. But I got to meet Ben when he was working for Chris Riley, a guy who cares so much about Austin and knows Austin from growing up here, having full experience, worked at the tavern that I just learned about, working in city government. So I think he comes with what the city what it's seen, where it needs to go, and a great understanding from working within city government about how to get it done. So I'm really, when Ben told me he was thinking of running, I was very excited about it. I think it'd be a great fit for District 9 and the city as a whole. So, Ben, thanks so much for being willing to do this.
I appreciate that. Thank y'all for coming, and for the hosts folks. I was telling this story earlier, but I would not be here if not for meeting Leah Bojo at the LBJ school. And Leah offered me a job in Chris Riley, the council member of the office in 2014 during the madness of pre-10-1 when Lewitt left and then replaced left with Leffler. And the first thing I asked her was, do I have to ride a bike to work every day? And she said, yeah, you got to do that. And it changed my life for the better. You get to see a city in a completely different way. But it also introduced me to all of these amazing folks that are hosting, from walking over to Mike Martinez's office and seeing Andy with his feet up on the desk. I said, what are you doing, Andy? He's serving the people. And it introduced me to the concept of, how we build cities affects how people live in those cities and who gets to live in those cities, right? When we were talking about, building compact, connected cities back in 2014 or 2012 when we passed the comprehensive plan, and we're still failing to do that. And it wasn't as salient of an issue in 2014, I think, as it is now. But as I'm talking to people, whether it's going to the door-to-door or at the gym or at the bar, everybody is experiencing, the negative effects of the growth we've experienced in the city because we haven't planned for it, and we haven't built the infrastructure, and we haven't had any foresight, and so we're so behind in the housing stock, and it's impacting, most acutely the folks, the working class people, the people who can't afford to increase their monthly rents or, buy an $800,000 house, 1,100 square foot, $800,000 house. And that is just fundamentally, it's going to kill our city. We can't have bars where bartenders live in Central Austin, as I was for a long time. That's how I met Sonia, who's the treasurer of my campaign. We can't have musicians, which is, things we love in Austin. We can't have teachers or first responders if we don't address housing. It's sort of the underlying factor for everything. And, going back to working in Councilmember Riley's office, I think that we have such an opportunity in this town if we think about it and we embrace it and we incentivize growth in a way that that we think about humans instead of maybe the buildings first, and we think about the people that get to be in our communities and not worried about maybe height restrictions along certain roads, right? I mean, that always dominates the conversation. We're not talking about the human beings who get to be in our town. And so I'm running now because it's just a crucial time for this city. If we don't address this, we know where we'll be in 5 years. We just have to look at the Bay Area. We also have a massive opportunity. We finally passed a transit bond, and that has a huge opportunity for housing if we actually implement it, and affordable housing. And we have a lot of infrastructure coming to this town, and we just have to make sure that we're being equitable in the way to implement it, because this city's amazing. I love this town. I want this Sonny, this is my 22-month-old, and we want him to be able to live in this town. And that's not possible unless we make some hard changes. I know there's trade-offs, but I know if we come together, we can make these changes. I think we need a pro-housing candidate in District 9. I want to be that person. I really hope that I can count on y'all's support. Thank you for being here. You can check out benleffler.com. You can make a donation there. If you've already donated, thank you. If you want to donate again, that's awesome too. Also take checks. But thanks again to the hosts and for all y'all being here. I really appreciate it.
One more thing, I also want to thank longtime friend Steve Basil with BD Riley's for reserving space for us, allowing us to take over a bit. So thanks, Steve. Yeah, so everybody open up their pocketbook.
The hard ass.
So Ben, we have a particular interest in aging. Talk to us about aging. What do you see as the issues around aging?
Well, Preston, you talked to me about aging before on your podcast, and I know there's some specific issues around folks that are sort of income inflexible, right? So as our housing market goes up and up and up, folks who are on fixed incomes, especially folks who are retired, they're going to be particularly susceptible to displacement. And right now, because we can't build diverse housing, this forces folks to move out of neighborhoods where they have long-standing community, where they have long-standing support networks, because they can't maybe downsize to a condo from a single-family home. If maybe they're living by themselves, they don't want to go upstairs anymore, right? So we want to make sure that there are housing options within the community for those folks to be able to access without having to move across town, move away from family, and we're not doing that very well right now.
Thank you, Ben. This is Ben's mom, Vivian.
Hello.
And I just asked her, why are you going to vote for Ben? And she said, he's a natural born leader.
He is a natural born leader.
Well, what else did you say about that?
Well, I said that from the time that he was very little, he would just have these huge groups of friends and they would just do whatever he told them to do. I don't know how he managed to just, garner their respect that way, but he did. And he's a real people person. And I don't know where he gets his leadership skills. Not from me, but that's what he's like. And I know he's had an interest in being involved in politics from a very young age.
Vivian, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a housing project.
So is that where he gets his affordable housing?
Maybe. I mean, we had a childhood where we were always, having to watch our money because I worked at UT, which pays terrible wages, and my husband was in grad school for 9 years. So it was never a question of telling them what's for sale, it's what's on sale. So, I mean, he didn't grow up with a lot of material possessions. Like all of the kids, we had 4 kids, they all had to get jobs, and their first car were used cars, and they would pay towards it, and we would pay towards it, and nothing was just handed to them except their natural intelligence and good looks.